Hey guys, how you doing? Coming to you again from the house. I'm under a lot of stress today because I've been thinking a lot. I've been seeing a lot of action going on in the world. One thing I wanted to talk about was teenage pregnancy and mothers and fathers allowing their teenage kids, daughters and sons, to have sex. I was watching a Dr. Phil show. Um, where Pastor T.D. Jakes was there, also another man who was advocating for abstinence, and then a young girl who was, when she was a teenager, she attended his sermons and his lectures and stuff, and now she's an advocate for teen prevention by giving out contraceptions in the school, condoms, birth control, stuff like that. So another Planned Parenthood, pretty much, is what she's advocating for. Um, of course, Pastor T.D. Jakes, or should I say Bishop T.D. Jakes, was advocating for abstinence. Also trying to get the views down as not as a faith-based only, but also as what is this world coming to? And that's what I ask myself today: is what this world is coming to. When there was a mother on there who was allowing her 13-year-old daughter to be involved with a 16-year-old boy having sex. She was saying that, look, I don't want you guys to have sex, but if you're gonna have sex, here's the tools to have sex. Um, what a lot of teenagers are not understanding, and this is something that I never understood as a teenager. When I was young and as a teenager and I was growing up, in the lifestyle that I was in, was it was okay to have sex as a man, as a young boy, or as a man, as I wanted to label myself. Um, I was taught that having sex was the way that a young boy conquered his himself, and that's the way he was to being with the cool kids or the cool people. So having sex, and that drifted on into my 20s, and it still gave me a lot of problems in my marriage, because in my marriage it was like sleeping with girls and being with all these women was like conquering them and making myself feel good, when in all actuality, all I really needed was my wife. um, Took me a long time to understand. Took me a very long time to understand that. Um, However, we still have a lot of young teenagers thinking that they're ready. There was a doctor on there that was saying that psychologically and emotionally, that these kids don't can't make the right judgment into the consequences of pregnancy and the consequences of having sex. And I honestly believe that these kids, I know I wasn't, and I tell a lot of young girls, like, you're not ready. Yeah, you may be ready to have sex when it comes to like the time and the intimacy, but you're not ready to to deal with the consequences and the emotional attachment that it has. So many young men, young boys, should I say, teenage boys, are tithing, putting them, how do you say it, combining themselves with another woman or a young girl, and they're having sex, and what's happening is they're soul tithing. They're tithing their souls together, and it's an emotional roller coaster that they're in. Sex is more than just the physicalness of it, of the feel good, and sex is a good thing created between a man and a woman, to be able to not only just procreate, but to show the love that you have for that woman, and the woman showing the love for the man. That's what sex was created for. Um, Intimacy. And even, yes, you can be intimate without having sexual intercourse. Intimacy goes deeper than intercourse. But a lot of these young kids, and me as a teenager, my wife as a teenager, she was in, my wife, I don't think she'll mind me sharing this with you, but my wife was in a deep relationship at 14 with the 22-year-old. She felt she was ready, and, you know, but now, when she talks to me about it, it's more like she wasn't ready emotionally for it all, even though she was pushed into becoming an adult sooner than what she wanted to be. You know, sex was a part of a way for her to get out of her home and be able to deal with her life on her own. Um, but I think that when you ask her, she wishes that she could go back and restart it. And if she knew then what she knows now, sex would have been the one thing that she would not have engaged in so young. Um, we have a lot of women who, young girls, teenage girls who are engaging in sex because of molestation, being molested, and young boys as well. Young boys can't find their identity because of the molestation that they've had in their lives. I'm pretty sure somewhere down the line I was molested. It has to be. I can't remember to the fullest. I think it, but I'm not sure. You know, my masculinity has been very questioned at times at a young age. I think every man goes through that. I honestly believe it. I honestly believe that every man deals with some sort of homosexuality with them. Um, Although not every single man and woman who is dealing with homosexuality, how do you say it? They don't act on those actions. You know, they might have them, they might have the thoughts and stuff, but they don't act on it. For those that do act on it and they go into homosexuality, they start with being bi. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Each and every individual that's claims to be a homosexual at one time were bisexual, which means they were trisexuals. They would try anything. You know, it's not a joke. It's not funny, but I think that allowing your there's my son in the background. You can see my son getting into my little talking here. That's the one person, him and my daughter. Now, the question has been asked to me: who do you want to protect more, your son from sex or your daughter from having sex too young? And the answer to that question is the both of them. Because even though I want to protect my daughter's virginity, I want to protect my son's virginity as well. Because my son, you know, I don't want him growing up thinking that sex is the way for young boys and young men to be, and going through all these relationships. So I would love for him to save himself for marriage or when he's ready. You know, marriage is the time. I think even young couples that are young that want to get married just to have sex is doing it in the wrong way. You got to be emotionally set up for it. I don't think that parents allowing their kids to be okay, look, they want to talk about information. Now, information is great for young kids to be informed on how sex is and pregnancy and all that stuff. Yes, I can understand it, but do we really want to give the power to the schools? The schools who cannot even control our kids' grades, but yet we want to allow the schools to control our kids' sexuality? Just doesn't fit right. It doesn't go right with my thinking. My wife and I stand on two separate sides of this issue, but in the same sense, we think alike, and we're focused on educating our kids, educating our kids on sex, educating our kids on teen pregnancy. Um, but yes, we do have our separate issues, and our the way of thinking is a little bit different, but it's still the same sense of we want them to wait, we want to protect their virginity, we want to protect their innocence and their emotion. Sex as a young teenager brings a lot of emotion into it. And I don't think that these young kids are, even at a 20 some year old who has not been able to control his emotions, is ready for sex. Sex carries, and that's where you see a lot of these men who have hurt their wives and killed their wives, or a lot of these wives who have killed their husbands, or hurt their husbands, or hurt their kids, or emotionally detached from society, or emotionally detached from their way of thinking. Because of why? Because they were sexually active at a young age and was not able to really deal with the emotional side of a breakup, or all this, and the divorce rate has to do with not being ready for sex. I honestly believe it. I honestly believe that a lot of these marriages that have been destroyed by sex, destroyed by the other woman, destroyed by the other man. There's just so much going on. This issue goes deep. This issue is related to homosexuality. It's related to the divorce rate. It's related. It's so related because it all is the origin of it all. If sex is something that needs to be blessed between a man and a woman in the time of marriage, when the two have become one flesh. Do you see what I'm saying? The two have become one flesh. Now, where do you see a man and a man becoming one? Or a woman and a woman becoming one? I just don't see it. However, I'm not going to sit here and judge anybody. I am going to tell them the truth of the gospel, which is, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love each other as Christ has loved you. So, in other words, you are to love your wife as Christ loved the church, and wives, submit to your husbands as long as your husband is submitting under Christ. That doesn't mean women submit to your husband and do everything he tells you to do. No, it's not what that means. What it means is you gotta love one another and submit to one another and respect one another, but as a man and a wife, not as a man and a man and a woman as a woman. You get what I'm saying? Homosexuality is wrong. It is morally wrong, and it is not what the Lord has intended for this world. However, homosexuality has been on the rise for so many centuries now. In the Roman times, in the Greek times, in every single century, you see homosexuality on the rise. The reason why is because so many men and women are confused with their sexuality. Why are they confused with their sexuality? Because they were not ready for the emotional state that sex brings. They were not ready for it. And what happens is it screws with your mind, and it screws with your way of thinking. And then what happens is people start thinking that they were born this way because they're a little feminine. Every man has femininity in them. Whether some men have a little more feminine genes, some men have more of the masculine gene than the feminine gene. And then some women are feminine, but some women have the masculine gene a little too much, so they act real masculine. So they think, well, if I'm masculine, then I need to be a man, and I like women. And men, if they're feminine and too feminine, then they're gay and they like men. You get what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense to me how the way of America today is thinking. America is in deep trouble. Our kids are in trouble. I want my kids to be happy, yes. But is true happiness them being homosexual? Is true happiness teen pregnancy? My daughter being pregnant at 13? Being able to have a boyfriend at 12? I don't think so. That's not happiness. What that is confusion. And God is not a God of confusion. God is a God of order. And there's a certain order. I've told you guys before. God is the Father, Jesus is the Son, and the Spirit is the Spirit. And the Spirit gives to all, with all, through Jesus Christ. No one comes to the Father except through the Son. No one comes to the Son unless drawn by the Holy Spirit. So right there, what that's telling you is God is a God of order. Although they are one God, they are in order and they do separate functions but are one God. That's the way humankind needs to be. Mankind is to be the father, which is the husband, the wife, and the kids. The husband met the wife, loved the wife, had kids with the wife, but then picked the kids over the wife. That's not the way it's supposed to be. The way it's supposed to be is the husband loves the wife, has the kids, but still loves the wife, and puts the wife before the kids. You see what I'm saying? Not a lot of families do that. Not a lot of husbands put their wife before their kids. And that's why their kids are able to drive a wedge between them. And then what do you get? Divorce. What do you have? The divorce rate climbing at its highest peak at 70 some percent divorce rate in America today. Is that what we want to teach our kids? Is that what we want for our kids? Divorce, unhappiness, unpleasantness. The majority of the kids that have turned homosexual have been homosexually turned because of divorce, because their husband, the wife and the man both divorced, left the kids, deprived the kids of having a mother and a father there for them. And what happened? They started questioning themselves. The father wasn't there for the son to ask, Father, Dad, why do I feel like this? And talk to me about the birds and the bees. Yes, information is important for a young teenager and a young kid to ask questions. Well, you do not want to give the tools and the ticket and the go ahead for that young daughter of yours. It's like me giving my daughter the information and then turning over the car keys to her and giving her a bottle of Jack Daniels and telling her, go ahead and go drive. That's pretty much what sex is with her. I'm giving her a condom and birth control and telling her to go. Be careful with your sex. Have sex, but be careful. Is that what I'm telling my daughter? So that her emotional side can get all screwed up, and then she doesn't know what the heck is going on in her life. Why does this boy not like me? Why do these boys, they only want me for one thing, so that's what I'm going to give them? You get what I'm saying, people? Do you understand the importance of abstinence? Do you understand the importance of talking to your kids and being there for your kids and allowing your kids to come to you and you being a mature adult and saying, yes, I am ready to talk to you about sex. Yes, I am ready for you to come to me and we'll deal with this demon head on. Demon, I don't really want to call it a demon, but to me it feels like it because my kids are going to be getting attacked just like every single teenager that is out there getting attacked with pornography and homosexuality and sex is in everything. Sex is in everything. We have a favorite show that we watch, Spartacus. I don't know if you guys ever watch it, Spartacus. We love that show. It's a very good show of Roman culture, of a man standing up and leading the people out of slavery, but it has too much sexual content in it. If they were to take the sex out which they have compared to the first season, compared to this season, there's not as much sexual content in it. But when the sex does come on, we turn. We don't stay and stare at it and be like, oh, let's get turned on by this. No. And that's what I'm talking about. Sex is attacking our youth. Our youth is our future, guys. And if we're going to allow is it right to say, oh, well, we need to be open and we need to be there for these kids that are homosexual? Really? Is that the thinking of us today? Honestly? We're not going to hate the people. We're not going to hate the kids for feeling that they're homosexuals. But that's not the way they were born. They weren't born to be homosexuals. They were born to be somebody on this earth and be able to find a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband and have kids and be happy. That is, ladies and gentlemen, is the super secret to life. Everybody always wonders, why am I here? Why am I on this earth? What is my purpose? You want to know what your purpose is? Your purpose is to be happy. If you're a young woman, to find a young Christian man who loves God, fears God, and has the love of Jesus Christ in him. That man will be a good husband for you. And for a young man to find a young Christian woman who loves God, has reverence for God, and is ready to submit to that man, as long as that man is submitful under Christ. You get what I'm saying? That's your purpose and plan in this life. God has a purpose and plan for each and every one of us. The devil is a plan for God. The God uses the devil for many, many things. And a lot of people like to blame God. I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of God being blamed for what man has caused on man. You reap what you sow. Anyway, I'm running out of time here. Hopefully this goes through. It's already 19 minutes long. I have some other things I want to talk about. Later on, I'm going to be talking about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, the great leaders of the 60s who were leading the black peoples out of segregation. I want to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about the Islamic nation, Allah and Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as well, so stay tuned for that. Go ahead and get on in. All right, peace. Have a good week. All right, it's Holy Week.